I watch a big yellow machine destroy my grandmother's rose garden. Marcus Hendricks stands by his expensive car, smiling. "It's all legal, sweetheart," he says. But he doesn't know I'm a legal expert who just found proof he's breaking the law. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. I'm standing at my fence line at 6:47 a.m., coffee mug frozen halfway to my lips, watching a Caterpillar 320 excavator rip through my grandmother's rose garden. The yellow beast tears through 100-year-old bushes like they're weeds, diesel smoke choking the crystal morning air. Thorny branches crack and splinter, Rosa Delgado's legacy disappearing into churned mud and broken petals. The smell hits me, fresh earth mixed with crushed flowers and burning fuel, a combination that makes my stomach turn. Behind the machine, Marcus Hendricks leans against his silver Mercedes GLE, arms crossed, that goddamn smirk plastered across his tanned face. "You can't do this." I shout over the engine noise, my boots already moving toward the destruction, coffee sloshing over the rim of my mug. He doesn't even look up, just checks his Rolex Submariner with the blue face. "Already did, sweetheart. Check the permits. All legal. All proper." He finally meets my eyes and I see nothing but contempt there. Maybe if you'd attended HOA meetings instead of hiding in your little farmhouse, you'd have known. This has been in the works for 18 months. I'm Elena Vega, 47 years old, and 6 months ago I inherited this 200-acre Wyoming ranch after 20 years of marriage ended in a Denver divorce court. 2 decades working as a water rights paralegal in Cheyenne, building expertise in the most complex property law in the West, and I'd planned to retire here quietly. Spend my days fixing fences, reading on the porch, healing from everything that broke in Denver. Grandmother Rosa left me this land with one instruction in her will, written in her shaky handwriting 3 days before the cancer took her. "Protect the water, Mija. It's our family's blood." The Sage Valley Homeowners Association decided they needed my creek for their new golf course development. Premium lots, they called it in their glossy brochures. Desert Oasis Living was their marketing slogan, complete with renderings of green fairways and artificial waterfalls. They found some dusty 1890s easement buried in the county records, convinced Judge Patricia Morrison it was valid, and started building their pipeline yesterday morning while I was in town buying chicken feed and fence staples. Marcus Hendricks is 52, retired executive from Denver Water Department, been HOA president for 3 years running. He wears Brooks Brothers polos even in ranch country, pastel colors that look ridiculous against the brown landscape. Drives that Mercedes like it's an armored tank, chrome wheels always polished despite the dirt roads. He has a habit of calling women sweetheart when he's about to screw them over, and honey when he thinks he's already won. He moved to Sage Valley in 2019 after selling his Denver house for $890,000, bought the biggest house in the development, a 4,500 square foot monstrosity with columns, and immediately started running the HOA like his personal kingdom. What Marcus doesn't know is that I've spent the last 3 weeks in the Fremont County Archives, in the basement of the courthouse that smells like old paper and mouse droppings and something else I can't quite identify. Reading every water rights document filed since 1870, when Wyoming was still a territory. Taking notes in my legal pad, photographing pages with my phone, building a case. "I'll see you in court," I tell him, voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest, despite wanting to grab that smirk off his face. He laughs, a barking sound without humor. "You already lost in court, honey. Judge Morrison signed off on everything. This pipeline is happening. We break ground on the golf course in April, and by next summer property values here will double. You should be thanking us." I watch them work for another hour, documenting everything on my phone. The excavator operator, a kid who can't be more than 25 with a patchy beard and a Carhartt jacket, won't meet my eyes. He knows this is wrong, I can see it in how he hesitates before each scoop of the bucket. By noon, they've carved a 4-foot-deep trench through Rosa's garden, through the spot where she taught me to identify edible plants when I was 7, through the earth where my grandfather proposed to her in 1951 with his mother's ring. The roses are gone. Every single one. Rosa had cultivated those bushes for 60 years, varieties that don't even exist in nurseries anymore. Yellow ones that smelled like honey. Deep red ones that bloomed until the first snow. Pink climbers that covered the arbor where she sat every evening, rosary beads in her weathered hands. All gone in 3 hours. That night, I'm sitting at my kitchen table surrounded by documents, my dinner forgotten, when my phone rings. Tom Rodriguez, my lawyer friend from Cheyenne, sounds tired. We worked together for 15 years before I left the firm. He's one of the best property lawyers in Wyoming, and if anyone can help me, it's Tom. Elena, I looked at the easement. Spent 4 hours on it. It's legitimate. Recorded in 1892, grants water access to the downstream properties. The language is clear. I don't think we can fight this. There has to be something, Tom. They destroyed my grandmother's garden. They're taking water that's been ours for. I know. I'm sorry. But sometimes the law isn't on our side. Sometimes the old claims trump everything else. This easement predates your family's ownership of the land. I hang up and stare at the papers spread across my table. Legal documents, surveys, deeds going back to territorial days. Then I see it, a notation I'd missed before, tiny handwriting in the margin of the 1892 easement. The easement references water flowing from the northern spring. Not the creek. The spring. They're not the same thing. At 11 p.m., I'm back in my truck, my old Ford F-250 with 180,000 miles on it, driving to the Bureau of Land Management office in Casper. It's a 2-hour drive through empty darkness, nothing but my headlights and the occasional pair of animal eyes reflecting from the roadside. The night clerk, a woman named Sarah Chin who I'd helped with a property dispute 2 years ago when her neighbor tried to claim adverse possession, lets me into the archives. Elena, it's almost midnight. What are you looking for? Everything. Every water claim filed in Fremont County before 1900. We search until 3 a.m., pulling boxes, reading through brittle pages, my eyes burning from the fluorescent lights. Sarah brings coffee from the break room, terrible burned stuff that's been sitting since the evening shift started. Sarah finds it first in a box labeled 1880 to 1885 water claims. Elena, look at this. The original water rights decree from 1883, filed by my great-grandfather Tomas Vega. His claim predates their easement by 9 years. In Wyoming, water rights follow the doctrine of prior appropriation. First in time, first in right. Senior water rights are absolute, protected by the state constitution. They can't be superseded by later easements or claims. But it gets better. At 4 a.m., my hands shaking from caffeine and exhaustion, I find the permits for the HOA's current construction. Filed in February 2023, valid for 1 year according to Wyoming Statute 41-3-930. It's now November 2024. They expired in February. They've been building illegally for 9 months, and every foot of pipeline is a violation. I drive home as the sun rises, pink and gold over the mountains, seeing everything differently now. I have them. I have Marcus Hendricks and his smug smile and his illegal pipeline. The next morning, barely 3 hours of sleep, I'm at the county assessor's office when they open at 8 a.m. The dried-up property upstream, the one everyone calls the wasteland, 15 acres of scrub brush that hasn't seen water in 50 years, is for sale. It's been on the market for 2 years. The owner died, his kids in California don't want it. $340,000. It's everything I have left after the divorce, every penny from splitting our Denver house, my entire savings. I'll take it, I tell the assessor, a man named Frank Dorsey who's worked here for 30 years. Ma'am, have you seen that property? There's nothing there. No water, no structures, just rocks and sage. You could buy better land for half that. I know exactly what's there, Frank. I want it. Because I've seen the old survey maps, the ones from before they built the county road in 1947. That dried-up lot holds the original spring that feeds the creek. Someone diverted it decades ago to irrigate hay fields, and when those fields were abandoned, everyone forgot the spring existed. But the water rights still attached to that land. The senior water rights. And in Wyoming, whoever controls the water rights controls the water. I close on the property in 3 days, the fastest transaction Frank has ever processed. Another $8,000 to hire a contractor, a guy named Miguel Ortiz who specializes in water systems. He installs a valve system and restores the original spring flow, clearing out 60 years of debris and sediment. The water that's been feeding their creek through the old diversion starts flowing through my property again, and I have every legal right to control it. I turn the valve to half flow. Not cutting them off completely, that would be cruel to the downstream ranchers who've relied on the creek for decades. But reducing it enough that the HOA's planned golf course becomes impossible. Marcus shows up on Tuesday, face the color of a ripe tomato, veins visible in his temples. He's not alone this time, brings 2 HOA board members, both looking uncomfortable in their SUV casual clothes. James Wheeler, a dentist from Colorado Springs who retired here, and Patricia Knowles, a real estate agent who moved from Cheyenne. They're in James's white Lexus RX, pristine and out of place on my dirt driveway. You can't cut off our water, Marcus spits, actually spitting, a fleck of saliva hitting my porch step. I'm standing on my new property holding the valve control, a simple wheel that cost $300 but represents everything. Actually, Marcus, I can. Senior water rights, established 1883. Your easement doesn't override that. Also, your permit's expired in February. You've been building illegally for 9 months. I hand him the legal papers Tom helped me prepare last night, 30 pages of citations and statute references. Marcus's hands shake as he reads. I watch his face go through stages: confusion, realization, rage. This is extortion. You're trying to blackmail us. No, this is water law. You'd know that if you'd actually understood Western water rights instead of assuming your Denver Water Department experience meant anything out here. Denver gets its water from different doctrine. Out here we follow prior appropriation. First in time, first in right. My great-grandfather was first. Patricia Knoll speaks up, voice quiet, worried. Marcus, you said the permits were current. You said everything was approved through 2025. They are. She's lying. She's making this up because she's bitter about her divorce I'm not lying, I say calmly. Call the county. Ask for permit records. Case number 2023 WR 847. You'll see. But I see doubt in their faces now, especially James Wheeler. He's looking at Marcus differently, like seeing him clearly for the first time. They're starting to realize Marcus hasn't been honest with them, that maybe he's been lying about a lot of things. The HOA files suit on Friday. Emergency injunction, demanding I restore full water flow, claiming I'm causing irreparable harm to property values and destroying their development. Their lawyer, David Brennan from Morrison & Straight, a big Casper firm with offices in 3 states, probably costs $500 an hour. The lawsuit lists damages of $2.3 million. Tom and I countersue for $890,000 in damages. Every rose bush at replacement value, every foot of torn-up land, every day of harassment and mental anguish. We file criminal complaints with the county attorney about the illegal construction. We request a full audit of Marcus's permit applications, demanding to know how expired permits got approved for construction. The story hits the Casper Star-Tribune on Monday. HOA president faces legal challenge over water rights. The reporter, Michelle Torres, does her homework. She's young, maybe 30, graduated from the University of Wyoming journalism program, and she's hungry for real stories. She finds 3 other properties where Marcus pushed through emergency permits that benefited his friends in the development company. A variance here, a setback waiver there, always approved with minimal review. By Wednesday, someone has started a crowdfunding campaign on a website called Rural Justice. Help Elena save her family ranch. I don't know who started it. Some woman named Cheryl from Laramie who says she fought her own HOA battle 5 years ago, lost her house, wants to help others. The goal is $50,000. Within a week, it raises $45,000 from people across Wyoming and neighboring states, all with their own stories of corporate entities steamrolling individual rights. That's when things get ugly. Someone cuts my fence on the north pasture on a Tuesday night. 30 head of cattle wander onto Highway 287. A trucker almost hits them at 5 a.m., swerves, takes out a mile marker. It costs me $3,000 in damages and impound fees to round them up. The sheriff, Tom Blackwood, takes a report but says there's no evidence of who did it. Could be anyone, Elena. Kids, someone with a grudge. You sure you latched that gate properly? 2 nights later, someone spray paints "bitch" across my barn door. Red paint, dripping like blood, letters 3 feet high. They also slashed 2 of my truck tires. Another $600. Marcus's silver Mercedes starts driving past my property, slowly at odd hours. I see him on my security camera, 2 a.m. on Friday, 4 a.m. on Sunday. Just crawling past at 10 miles per hour, him staring at my house. No other reason to be on this road. Tom files for a restraining order. Judge Morrison, the same judge who approved their original permits, denies it. Insufficient evidence of direct threat. Driving on a public road isn't harassment. I install more security cameras with money from the crowdfunding campaign. $2,400 for a 6-camera system with night vision and motion alerts. Miguel Ortiz helps me install them, running wires through my attic, mounting cameras on the barn, the house, the equipment shed. The cameras catch them on November 18th at 11:43 p.m. Marcus and 2 men I don't recognize, all wearing dark clothes, cutting my irrigation lines with bolt cutters. They cut through PVC pipe, destroy sprinkler heads, vandalize the valve system on the spring property. Their faces are clear as day on the footage, infrared showing every detail. I call Sheriff Blackwood immediately. He arrives with a deputy 30 minutes later. We watch the footage together on my laptop. That's definitely Hendricks, Blackwood says, and I hear something new in his voice, anger. And I recognize one of the others. Bobby Marsh. He's been doing contract work for the development. Sheriff Blackwood arrests Marcus at his house at 7 a.m. the next morning. Marcus answers the door in pajamas, hair disheveled, completely shocked. The two other men are contractors working on the golf course development, Bobby Marsh and a man named Trevor Collins. Bobby talks immediately when they arrest him at his apartment. Marcus paid them $500 each to sabotage my property, told them I was trying to destroy the community, that it was justified. The local news picks it up that evening. Channel 5 from Casper sends a camera crew. Then the Denver stations get interested. HOA president arrested for vandalism and harassment. They interview me on my porch, the destroyed irrigation system visible behind me. This isn't about revenge, I tell the camera. This is about protecting legal rights and family legacy. Water law exists for a reason. That's when Tom finds the smoking gun that changes everything. He's reviewing Marcus's financial disclosures for the HOA, documents that, as a public entity spending public improvement funds under Wyoming HOA statutes, they're required to file with the county. Most people never look at them. Tom looks at everything. Marcus owns 30% of Desert Oasis Development LLC, the company building the golf course. He's been voting on his own permits, approving his own contracts, directing HOA assessment money to his own company. Over the past 3 years, Desert Oasis Development has received $1.2 million in HOA contracts, and Marcus personally profited to the tune of $360,000. It's textbook conflict of interest. It's also criminal fraud under Wyoming Statute 6-3-401. Tom files a motion to add fraud charges to our civil suit. He also sends his findings to the Wyoming Attorney General's office and the county prosecutor. The public meeting is scheduled for December 3rd at the Sage Valley Community Center, a converted barn that the HOA spent $200,000 renovating 2 years ago. Tom advises me not to go. This could get heated, Elena. There are a lot of angry people. Some are angry at Marcus, but some are angry at you for threatening their property values. Let me handle it. It's my land. My family. My grandmother's roses. I'm going. The parking lot is full an hour before the 7 p.m. start time. I count over 200 cars. The community center holds 150 people max, and there are folks standing outside in the December cold, breath fogging in the air, bundled in down jackets and Carhartt coats. I walk in at 7 p.m. sharp. The room goes quiet, conversation dying like someone flipped a switch. I can feel eyes on me, some supportive, nodding, giving small smiles. Many hostile, glaring, blaming me for everything that's gone wrong. These are the people who bought into Desert Oasis living, who believed in their property values increasing, who trusted Marcus to lead them to prosperity. Marcus sits at the head table with the board members. He's wearing a navy suit tonight, lawyer armor, a red power tie. His face is tight with stress, 20 pounds thinner than when this started. David Brennan sits beside him, $800 briefcase on the table, legal pads arranged in perfect order. The board president pro tem, a nervous accountant named Robert Chin who never wanted this job, calls the meeting to order. His hands shake as he bangs the gavel. We're here to discuss the allegations regarding the water rights dispute and recent criminal charges against Mr. Hendricks. Tom stands 6 feet tall in a gray suit, every inch the professional attorney. I'd like to present evidence to the board and the community. For the next 30 minutes, Tom lays it out like a prosecutor building a case. The expired permits. The senior water rights that predate their easement. The ownership stake in Desert Oasis Development. The approval of his own contracts without disclosure. The harassment. The vandalism arrest with video evidence. The $360,000 in personal profit. He projects documents on the screen, financial records, the video footage of Marcus cutting my irrigation lines, the original 1883 water rights decree with Tomas Vega's signature in faded ink, the expired permits with Judge Morrison's signature from February 2023. The room is dead silent except for Tom's voice and the occasional gasp when he reveals another piece of evidence. People are taking photos with their phones, recording on video, documenting everything. When he finishes, Robert Chin looks like he might throw up, face pale and sweaty. Marcus, is this true? Do you own part of the development company? Did you vote on your own contracts? Marcus stands, face red, hands gripping the table edge. This is a witch hunt. That woman, pointing at me with a shaking finger, is trying to destroy our community. She's holding our water hostage, destroying property values, all because she's bitter about her divorce. She moved here and immediately started causing problems, refusing to cooperate, acting like she's above the rules that govern the rest of us. Wrong move. The crowd murmurs, angry now, not at me but at him. They can smell desperation, see through the deflection. A woman in the third row stands up. I recognize her. Linda Martinez, she runs the hardware store in town, been here 20 years, knows everyone. Mr. Hendricks, answer the question. Do you own part of the development company? Yes or no? That's irrelevant. The real issue is. It's a yes or no question, Marcus. This from James Wheeler, the dentist on the board. His voice is ice, all his earlier doubt now certainty. He's furious, face tight with controlled rage. Marcus's jaw works, throat bobbing. I have a minority stake. It's completely legal. Lots of board members have investments. It's how business works. Did you disclose this when you voted on development permits? Tom asks, voice calm and relentless. Silence. Long, damning silence. Did you disclose it when you approved contracts with Desert Oasis Development? When you voted to use HOA funds for golf course infrastructure that benefits your company? More silence. Marcus stares at the table. Patricia Knowles stands up from the board table, chair scraping loud in the quiet room. I never knew about this. Robert, did you know Marcus had ownership? Robert shakes his head, looking shell-shocked, like his entire worldview just collapsed. No. He never disclosed it. Not in 3 years. A man in the back yells, "You've been stealing from us." His voice cracks with emotion. We trusted you. My assessment went up $200 a month to pay for that golf course. The room erupts. People shouting, standing, pointing at Marcus, at the board, demanding answers. Someone yells about lawsuits. Another about calling the FBI. Sheriff Blackwood, standing by the door in uniform, moves forward, hand on his radio, ready to call for backup if this turns into a riot. Robert Chin bangs the gavel repeatedly, the sound echoing off the barn's high ceiling. Order. We need order. It takes 5 minutes of sustained banging and shouting before the room quiets enough to continue. When the room finally quiets, Robert's voice shakes with anger and disappointment. Marcus, I'm calling for your immediate resignation as HOA president and board member, effective tonight. You can't, I was elected. The membership has to. All in favor? James and Patricia raise their hands immediately. It's unanimous, 3-0. Marcus stands, chair scraping back, face twisted with rage and humiliation. This isn't over. I'll sue all of you. I'll sue her. I'll tie this up in court for years. You'll spend every penny you have on lawyers before I'm done. None of you understand what you're doing, the opportunities you're destroying. Mr. Hendricks, Tom says calmly, pulling out his phone and reading from an email, the State Attorney General's office has been investigating since the vandalism arrest. I received word this afternoon that they're filing charges for fraud, conflict of interest violations under Wyoming Statute 9-13-103, and misappropriation of HOA funds. I'd suggest you retain counsel. Different counsel. David Brennan, the expensive lawyer, closes his briefcase with a click. He stands, straightens his tie, and walks out without a word to Marcus. Just leaves his client sitting there, taking his $500 per hour expertise with him, already thinking about protecting his firm's reputation. Marcus's face goes from red to white in seconds. He looks around the room, seeing the anger, the betrayal, the disgust on every face. These were his neighbors, his supporters, people who elected him 3 times, who trusted him with their money and their community's future. He walks out without another word, back straight, trying to maintain dignity. His footsteps echo in the silent room. Someone slow claps, sarcastic and bitter. Someone else joins in. It builds until half the room is clapping, not celebration but something darker, the sound of trust breaking. The meeting continues for another hour. Robert Chin, now acting president, makes a motion with Patricia seconding. I move that the HOA settle all claims with Ms. Elena Vega, remove the illegally constructed pipeline, restore her property to its previous condition, and issue a formal apology for the violation of her rights and the destruction of her property. It passes unanimously. I further move that we terminate all contracts with Desert Oasis Development LLC pending a full forensic audit of past expenditures. That passes too. After the meeting, people approach me. Some apologize, faces earnest, some crying. Linda Martinez hugs me hard, crying into my shoulder. I'm sorry we didn't listen sooner. I saw what they did to your roses. Rosa loved those roses. I'm so sorry. A man named Peter Garrison, a retired teacher, shakes my hand. You did the right thing. Someone had to stand up to him. But others leave without a word, angry that their property values might drop, that the golf course development is probably dead, that their dreams of premium real estate are over. I understand. Not everyone in the HOA was a villain. Many were just people who trusted the wrong leader, who believed in a dream, who put their retirement savings into property they hoped would appreciate. The settlement comes through on December 18th, just in time for Christmas. The HOA pays $650,000 in damages and legal fees. They remove the pipeline, every inch of it, leaving my land cleaner than before. Tom negotiates an agreement where I provide water access for reasonable agricultural use by downstream properties, respecting the senior rights doctrine properly this time, with written agreements and proper permits. Marcus pleads guilty in February to avoid trial, accepting a deal the prosecutor offers. Fraud, conflict of interest, criminal mischief. 18 months in Wyoming State Penitentiary, $340,000 in restitution to the HOA, 5 years probation after release. His wife files for divorce while he's awaiting sentencing. His house, the 4,500 square foot monstrosity with columns, goes into foreclosure when he can't make the $4,200 monthly payment. The Mercedes gets repossessed from the courthouse parking lot the day of his sentencing. I see him one more time before he reports to prison in March. I'm in town buying supplies at Linda's hardware store, and he's sitting in his wife's truck outside. She already took the Mercedes back. Our eyes meet through the windshield. He looks smaller somehow, diminished, 20 years older than 6 months ago. Not the arrogant executive in the Brooks Brothers polo anymore. Just a man who let greed destroy everything he'd built. I don't feel triumph. Just tired sadness. Just waste. In March, I used the settlement money to establish the Rosa Delgado Water Rights Scholarship at the University of Wyoming College of Law. $250,000 endowment generating about $10,000 annually for paralegal and law students specializing in property and water law. The first recipient is a young woman from Sheridan named Maria Gutierrez whose family lost their ranch to a similar dispute, who wants to help others fight back. Another $150,000 goes to creating a community garden on the spring property. Open to anyone in the county, maintained by volunteers, teaching sustainable water use and traditional agriculture. We plant Rosa's roses there, cuttings I'd saved from the original garden before the excavator destroyed them. Miguel Ortiz builds raised beds and installs drip irrigation. Linda Martinez donates tools and supplies. The local elementary school brings kids for field trips. I teach them about water rights, about protecting resources, about standing up when something's wrong, about how laws aren't just rules but protection for the powerless. The Casper Star-Tribune runs a follow-up story in April. Michelle Torres writes, Elena Vega's fight wasn't just about water. It was about legacy, about family, about the principle that power doesn't equal right. In a state built on water rights and property law, Vega proved that knowing the law matters more than having money or influence. The crowdfunding campaign ends with $67,000 raised from 847 donors across 23 states. After legal fees, there's $22,000 left. I donated to Wyoming Legal Aid for rural property rights cases, helping others who can't afford Tom Rodriguez. It's May now, 6 months after the public meeting, a full year since Marcus first appeared on my property. I'm standing where Rosa's garden used to be, planting new roses. The creek runs clear and free beside me, following the path it's followed since before my great-grandfather filed his claim in 1883, since before Wyoming was a state, since before any of this mattered to anyone but the Vega family. The spring property is beautiful this time of year. Wildflowers blooming purple and yellow across the hillside, the community garden already showing green shoots of vegetables, lettuce and peas and carrots. Kids' laughter carries on the wind from a school group learning about irrigation. Last week, Marcus drove past slowly in his ex-wife's borrowed Toyota, not the Mercedes anymore. Our eyes met. He looked away first. A few of the HOA members have become genuine friends. Linda Martinez brings me coffee every Tuesday, and we sit on my porch talking about everything except water rights. James Wheeler referred me to 3 clients who need water rights consulting, turning my retirement into a small practice helping others. Even Patricia Knowles, the real estate agent, apologized for not questioning Marcus sooner, for being blinded by the promise of rising property values. Robert Chin, the new HOA president, is working to reform their governance, to prevent another Marcus. Mandatory financial disclosures. Term limits. Independent oversight. Hiring a professional management company. He asked for my help reviewing the new bylaws, and I spent a week making sure they're airtight. The golf course development is dead. Desert Oasis Development LLC declared bankruptcy in March. Those premium lots are being sold off individually, most at significant losses. Some HOA members are underwater on their investments, owing more than the properties are worth. I feel for them genuinely. They were victims too in their way. Victims of promises and lies, of one man's greed disguised as community improvement, of believing that growth always means progress. But some things needed to break for better things to grow. Tom Rodriguez tells me I should write a book, turn this into something that helps others. People need to know these stories. How to fight back. How to use the law. How to stand up when everyone says you can't win. Maybe I will. Maybe that's next. Maybe I'll spend my retirement not just consulting but teaching, writing, helping others understand that property rights aren't just legal concepts but the foundation of freedom. For now, I'm content here on this land that's been in my family for 142 years. The land Rosa protected, that my grandfather worked until his back gave out, that my great-grandfather claimed when Wyoming was still a territory and water meant survival. The water runs free because someone stood up for it. Because expertise met determination. Because knowing your rights isn't just power, it's everything. If you've got a property rights story, I want to hear it. Contact me through the Rosa Delgado Scholarship Fund. If your HOA or a corporation is pushing you around, if they're counting on you not knowing the law, don't stay quiet. Document everything. Record everything. Research everything. Find your Tom Rodriguez, your Linda Martinez, your community support. The law is complex, but it's there for a reason. Water rights, property rights, easement law, these aren't just dusty documents in courthouse basements. They're the foundation of who gets to stay, who gets to thrive, who gets to protect what matters. Rosa Delgado knew that. She left me more than land. She left me purpose. I'm standing here with dirt under my fingernails, rose thorns catching on my sleeve, the Wyoming wind in my face bringing the smell of sage and rain, and I've never felt more at home. The fight isn't always clean. Victory isn't always complete. Justice doesn't always feel like justice when you see the casualties on both sides. But legacy, real legacy, is worth every bit of it. The creek runs on, constant and clear, just as it always has, just as it always will. And I'm still here to protect it. The roses will grow back. They always do.